we just have a brooding, mysterious, distant man that like just wants to help a woman heal? I don't know how anybody reads that and is like, ah, yes, H.D. Carlton, it's my favorite author. Like, you probably need to go to therapy, bro. You rating this shit 5 stars? You need a hug and, I don't know, like a healthy relationship with Jesus. Like, what are we doing?
Hey, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Kaylee, and this is Read, Rant, Review, where I read books and I do rant reviews. Today, we are talking about a book by H.D. Carlton, most well known for her cat and mouse duet, Haunting and Hunting Adeline. I believe that got her some clout on TikTok, but we're not doing either of those, nor are we doing any of her other popular books. Today, we're going to be talking about Shallow River. This was initially published on November 1st of 2020, which predates all of that. Her Goodreads is a little bit confusing, and I didn't care enough to actually look it up, but I'm pretty sure this is her first, if not one of her very, very early books. So kind of interesting tidbit to know. Currently, it is sitting at a 4.1 stars on Goodreads with 32,000 ratings. To be honest, I never read Haunting or Hunting Adeline. I have just watched multiple book reviewers review them and talk about it, and I wanted to read a book by HD and form my own opinion. So here we are today, and as I'm reviewing this is tied with Where's Molly as her highest rated book on Goodreads, and that may be due to lack of popularity, given it has 1/10 of the reviews that Adeline does, which is kind of impressive, to be honest. With that being said, what is Shallow River? What is it about? Off the top, I'm just gonna read you, same thing like I usually do, I'm just gonna read you what the back of the book says, because that shit says it enough. And I have to read it in an edgy voice because that's just how this is, and you'll understand with a quickness. Shallow Hill is where all souls suffer slow and miserable deaths. When River McAllister escaped from Shallow Hill, she left her innocence behind, and some of her sanity too. Now she's rebuilding her life with her dream man, and life couldn't be any better. Ryan Fitzgerald is everything you would want in a man: attractive, rich, an aspiring lawyer, and would do anything to keep River. But that's not the only thing that attracts her. It's his attentiveness, his possessiveness, maybe not so much his temper. When her relationship takes a dark turn, Ryan's estranged brother Mako is the only one who sees it. He knows exactly what Ryan is capable of, and it's not the first time he's had to be a knight in shining armor. River came from Shallow Hill, though. She's never needed saving before. What Mako doesn't see is that River is perfectly capable of taking care of herself. The only one who should be scared is Ryan. Which, if you are new to my channel in any way, when I read that last sentence, I said, let's read it. I love justice. If there is one thing about me, I love justice. If you hurt people, you should be hurt. You know what I'm saying? And so whenever that is the premise of something, you know, the evening of the karmic scales, the being pistol whipped, you know what I mean? by the protagonist getting revenge. I love that stuff, dude. I thrive for it. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, and it was her highest rated book. I said, oh, I am super fascinated. Let's see if this is any better than the Haunting and Hunting Adeline stuff and from the reviews that I had seen. I'll do trigger warnings here in a second, but before I do trigger warnings, I do just want to do my like 2 disclaimers really, really fast, which is, I didn't like the book, okay? So like disclaimer number 1, the review is not for HD, it's not for HD stans or fans or whatever. I will be talking about this book in a negative way, right? That's all. Usually I try to say nice stuff about it as I go through, but there's really nothing nice to say. It's just a sad book. So that's like the biggest disclaimer. And then obviously the other big disclaimer is that this is going to be all of the spoilers. Like I'm literally going to be doing chapter by chapter, beat by beat plot breakdown and discussion of it. So don't watch this if you actually want to read this someday. Those are the 2. So now for the trigger warnings. Oh God, the book opens with an important note. Okay, and so this is what the important note says. Shallow River is a dark romance that contains very triggering is a dark romance that contains very triggering situations such as graphic domestic violence, graphic R, not between the main love interests, all forms of abuse, manipulation, not between main love interest, okay. Sus. All forms of abuse, manipulation, gaslighting, graphic violence, graphic language, graphic scenes, murder, and mention of child assault, not depicted. That's fucking debatable. Familial abuse and kidnapping. Please take these warnings seriously. And boy fucking howdy should you, bro. This entire book is just abuse. So if you watched my previous review of Too Late by Colleen Hoover, I thought that book was full of sad abuse. This is like that on freaking absolute drugs, dude. This is so sad. And it never gets any better. Like, it is just, and there's no plot. There's no plot to any of it. There's a very minor crime plot that maybe takes up like 1/10 of the book. But at least in Too Late by Colleen Hoover, there was like the overarching DEA agent thing going on, you know? And it was like, we're here to bust the bad guy. This one, not the case. It's literally just reading about this woman being abused in all facets and all times of her life. Or all like times throughout her life. And it never gets any better. So like, heads up on that. That's going to be your trigger warning right now, because nothing that I'm about to say is not going to be triggering. Like, every single thing in this video, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And when you think it can't get any more worse, it does. If that fascinates you, I love that for you. Let's go along for the ride. If you mentally can't handle some of this stuff, like whenever we get to it, dude, wish you peace, protect your peace, get the f out of here. I don't blame you. Okay. With that being said, it took me 3 paragraphs in, and I realized that I needed to make my curse counter, because we have a real edgy lead female main character. River is just edgy little baddie, and so I'll put up my little table that I usually do. The F-bomb is used 569 times. Again, this is a 437 page book. The F-bomb is used more than once per page. That's crazy. That's not even counting all the other curse words that are up in this thing. The other thing too, just in general, before I get started, I promise I'm about to. I'm so sensitive to words that feel out of place or feel overused, and the term ensnared was used 4 times throughout the book, which was really weird. Like, that's such an odd verb. And then the term bereft was used 4 times, and all 4 of those times was in the first 30 pages of the book. It's like HD had heard that word for the first time in her life and said, oh my god, I love it, let's use it everywhere. Bereft. Okay, those are my only complaints. We can actually get into this now. Yay! So, our book opens with our main female character, River, and her best friend, Amelia. They're freshmen in college. They're dancing at the club. They're little club goers, in between drinking their Long Islands and lemon drop shots. They're vibing, right? They're out on the dance floor, and they're dancing to Calabria by Inure. No, literally, that song is like shouted out specifically. And if you don't know what it is, I had to Google it too, and then I heard the song and I said, 2010s club music, man. This is the epitome. Right? You know the song. If you don't know, then you're too young to be watching this video. And so I heard that. I was like, oh, I don't know. It made me cringe so bad. Anyway, they're not just dancing in the club and calling each other bitch every other sentence and, you know, again, drinking Long Islands in lemon drops, dude. Even just reading that gave me such a hangover. But River is punching men. Any man that touches her or dances with her for too long, she punches them. So she opens the book with breaking a man's nose, and then literally like 2 songs later, this guy is grinding up on her and she likes it. This mysterious man, he's like so hot. And so they get all lost in the sauce to that song I just played. And by the time she realizes that she likes him dancing on her, Amelia comes over, and Amelia's getting sick, and so they have to run away, and so she never knows or never like meets this man or knows who he is. The girls wake up with this like horrible hangover, and they're getting breakfast, and Amelia tells River that this guy Ryan is single now. River has always had a crush on Ryan, but Ryan was dating his high school sweetheart, but now he's on the market. And River is very excited. After their hangover breakfast, River has to go to Shallow Hill, a rundown, horrible area, town, neighborhood thing, entity. I don't know. It's a place. I don't know if it's a neighborhood or a town, but she has to go to Shallow Hill, and it's where she grew up, and all the houses are abandoned, and there's a bunch of drug addicts everywhere. And she has to go home, though, to go visit her mom to collect rent. River has been working and saving money since forever, and the first thing that she bought was her mom's house when it went up for foreclosure. Kind of like a sticking it to the man, you know, like, oh, now you're under my roof thing, almost like a vengeful, you know what I mean, way that she bought her mom's house. Not in like a cute way, but in a like vengeful, you owe me way, you know what I'm saying? So she has to go home every month to collect rent. You guys are not prepared for this. Oh, this is so gross. She says, "You're late." Barbie snarls, a half-smoked cigarette dangling from the corner of her crusted mouth. I can only imagine what the fuck kind of dirty substance she has wrapped around her lips. Something tasty enough to let crust, I guess. I shrug a shoulder, unconcerned with her bitching. "What are you going to do about it?" I ask dryly. I can't remember the last time my mother evoked any real emotion in me besides irritation and wanting her to die already. She calls me a few choice names, and I dutifully ignore her. Her lips tighten around the cigarette, and she inhales until it's nearly depleted. Good. Maybe she'll die faster. "I should have aborted you," she mutters, her beady little eyes glaring holes in me. "Oh, look, something we can both agree on. Do you have the goddamn money or what?" She reaches into her dirty nightgown pocket and pulls out a few wadded bills. Okay. So there's some back and forth, and then it ends with, she says, "I picked enough fights in my childhood to breed myself into a scrappy bitch. Not that I need to know how to fight when it comes to a half-dead wraith like her trying to hurt me. Those fights were lessons, and they... What? And they wouldn't have been as vital as oxygen in my lungs if it wasn't because of her and her clients. It's something I'll never say thank you for, but she can thank herself if she ever has the misfortune of running into my fist. I should have. We both are well aware of the things you should have done, Barbie, but alas, that doesn't change the fact that you don't have my f***ing money." She opens her mouth to spew more poisonous words my way, but a knock on the door cuts her off. Her lip curls. "Get out, I have a client." I throw the useless dollar bills back at her in the crumpled paper ball falling at her feet. "Work extra hard tonight. I want my money by Tuesday. 3 days should be plenty for a whore like her." Jesus Christ. So in case anybody is confused about the insinuation here, her mother hooks up with guys for money and drugs. She's done this her entire life, like all of River's life. Wow, okay. What a start. Oh my god. So that was like in the past, and then now we cut to the present for chapter 2. She's now dating Ryan, right? She's finally dating the guy that we talked about at the diner, and he's taking her to meet his parents. He's a lawyer, he's a few years older than her, and it's a total 180 from her previous life. Like, he is stupid rich and has like a good family unit. And he lives in this very, very like modern, beautiful house, and she lives with him now. We are just immediately hit with manipulation and shitty behavior off the bat. He's punishing me for wearing too much makeup. He says I'm a natural beauty and makeup makes me look like a whore, but I've always loved dressing my face up with colors. I make sure to not go too heavy, but that doesn't matter to Ryan. Intensifying my beauty means intensifying stares from other men. He's possessive and gets territorial when other men hit on me. He hasn't worn me down from wearing it yet, though. Okay, I don't really like the way that this is starting. So the entire chapter, she is reflecting on their relationship and how he's changed and been getting more and more manipulative and controlling, and she feels stupid for loving him. Again, we're like 10 pages into this, and we meet Ryan's parents, though, and they are so sweet, and they love her so much. Like, they are so kind to her, and it was a great first impression, and everybody like absolutely loves her, and it's the kind of family that she's never had but always wanted, and she is like so excited for this to happen. But as dinner is about to begin, Mako comes down, Mako is Ryan's brother, who he has never mentioned, not a single time. She had no idea that he had a brother. Mako comes down. Ryan's like a little blonde hair, blue-eyed, little scrawny, muscular guy. Mako, though. Mako's 6'3". He's super tan and tatted and dark hair and the guy that you would expect in this type of book, you know what I mean? Like the absolute stereotype of the hot older brother thing. And so he comes down and Ryan is pissed. Like immediately you can like feel the tension in the air. Like Ryan and Mako hate each other and she is super confused because she again has no idea who the hell this man is. They're going through dinner and they're asking her questions, right? Like the family is. And Ryan has his hand on her knee and he is squeezing every time that they ask questions to keep her in line. And she has a bruise by the end of the night from him squeezing so hard. She goes up to the kitchen at the end of the dinner and she goes and she's cleaning up dishes with the mom and they're bonding or whatever. And Mako comes down and Mako says she'll be gone soon, just like the last ones. But I figure she knows that already since she's so good at figuring people out. It's like a reference to her being a psychology student. And she was like, I just love figuring people out. That's why it's my major. I want it to be my profession because I just love figuring people out. Which made me cringe and roll my eyes so hard. And so he's kind of making fun of her here. And that's where we are. Not great. We go to chapter 3 and we hard cut, like immediately hard cut to a very serious scene where Ryan is being physically abusive and threatening to hurt her if she's lying about wanting to Mako. I have in my notes, but I'm hung up on the fact HD has used breath 40 times in 30 pages. I was like, where is the editor? I was like, this is such a serious scene, but I am so distracted by this poor grammar. It's so funny. Yeah, but like, yeah, I guess he's just been like beating the crap out of her forever. And like meeting Mako and like Mako coming into the picture really kind of like triggered this insecurity in Ryan and like triggered this like physical abuse that starts happening. So that's what we're immediately thrown into. And he is obviously very insecure about his brother. We cut to River and Amelia getting ice cream after the fact, and she's keeping the secret from Amelia. Obviously, she doesn't want to tell about Ryan and hurting her. She doesn't want to be this whole like dramatic thing. So they're getting ice cream. And as they're doing so, Allison comes up. Allison is Ryan's ex. His high school girlfriend ex. And there's an allusion to the fact that Allison has reached out to River and warned her about Ryan and like told her to get out. And River says, this bitch is trying to sabotage my relationship while simultaneously acknowledging that she is actually being abused. And it's then that we learn that this is her first relationship. Of fucking course it is. And I said, God, this hurts. It just hurts to read. We also learn that he asked her to quit her job when she moved in. He's like, I make enough money for the both of us. You need to focus on school. So she has no money. She's in her first relationship with an abusive man who has escalating behavior, and she's defending it and not asking for help. She has no real like safety net or anybody else looking out for her. And her like one friend, Amelia, she doesn't want to tell her what's going on. It's just setting up for a bad thing. The whole book, I just had this like level of unease, and it didn't get any better. So this is the note that I have in my thing. So I'm just going to read this like direct from my script. Oh, the other thing too is that he says that he'll unalive himself if she ever leaves. This is quite literally Abuse 101. Like, bro, this shit is hard to read for the sheer fact that it is an accurate reflection of a relationship with this type of man and the conversations had. The issue, from a critic perspective, is that it's laying all of it on very heavily and fast. It would probably be better to have boiled the frog. It's insinuated that what he's done to her has been slowly building, but not to the reader. So while this reads as an authentic portrayal, if I hadn't been through this firsthand, I would think that she's just being stupid and unreasonable, just like being break up with the dude. So it's very hard. Like, a lot of the abuse coming from Ryan and a lot of like the manipulation tactics and the things that he says are valid, right? It's things that you read about, it's things that you see all the time, and it's things that, like, if you have been in like a shitty relationship in some way, you identify with a lot of what's going on. But again, we are like 30 pages in, and you're just laying it on so heavy that it seems unbelievable. And it makes it hard to root for River when you're like, dude, just fucking leave. You know, I hope that makes sense. Boiling the frog, by the way, is like when a relationship like slowly gets worse. Like things are just like escalating to a point that you don't know how bad it is until it's too late, right? Because the frog could just jump out of the water. Like if you turn up the water too high, immediately the frog is just going to jump out. But if you turn the water up slowly enough, the frog isn't going to know until it's boiled, right? That's kind of the saying. I don't know. It was just so heavy-handed that was like an immediate turnoff. She goes back to visit her mom for Rent. And when she goes back to visit her mom, we learn about Billy, the other bad guy in this book. Billy is a drug dealer. He's one of her mom's clients, and he has been abusing River in every sense of the word since she was a child. Every sense of the word. And he's a drug lord and basically runs Shallow Hill, and he is the only person that River is afraid of. So again, we are like 40 pages in, and it is just trauma dump after trauma dump after like trauma dump from this girl. Compounding traumatic events, and like I don't know what to do. Like, again, there's no plot, there's no storyline. It's just like, hey, this is this horrible thing that happened, and here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. I don't know anything about this girl, right? Like I have no reason to root for her other than just purely feeling bad, but I'm like, there's no plot, there's no like, it's just reading sad stuff that's happened to her. Chapter 4, we meet Mako. Mako is a detective, which I thought was really interesting. So we're introduced to him while he's talking about a recently murdered man, and he was murdered by a serial killer that they call Ghost Killer. The MO is that when he kills them, he carves the word ghost into their chest. And they have no idea. They've been trying to catch him for a year. And what's crazy is that the bodies will be covered in DNA from S-workers or murderers and other bad guys that are currently in prison and have been in prison for years. So it's like really, really weird that that's the only DNA that they're able to pull off of these bodies. And then we learn that Mako is the older brother and that he's always tried to be friends with Ryan, but Ryan has just like always been a shithead. Like Ryan has always hated him. Ryan and Ryan's dad, I'm not going to say his name because it doesn't really matter, but they're both lawyers, and then Mako is a detective. And so they kind of hang out sometimes, like he tries to go around and visit them. So he's going to have lunch with his dad, and he goes out of his way to go and visit Ryan that day. And when he peeks through the little window, he finds that Ryan is banging his secretary. Instantly, Mako is pissed but not surprised because he knows Ryan is a playa. But he also knows that Ryan is abusive, and we learn that Mako helped Allison get out of the relationship last time. He had wanted to charge Ryan with DV, but Allison refused because she was afraid of what would happen, and she just didn't want to deal with it, and she's just like super afraid. So Mako felt great once Allison got away from that situation, but now that he's met River and she's in the picture, he says, "This time it feels personal, and I don't even want to figure out why." And I said, "No, please, for the love of God, don't insta-love me, for fuck's sake. It is the worst trope." I said, "Please, man, I had such high hopes for him. He's the broody, distant guy with the heart of gold. Don't ruin him in the same chapter he is presented." I said, please. I wanted the detective badass guy. I still had so much hope. God bless my soul. So he's already like, he ran a background check on River before, and he searches her up again, only finding out about the house that she bought and that she's in school. And he says, "I stopped my research there, feeling 10 kinds of creepy, and here I am again, looking into her life when I have no business doing so, but I can't watch another innocent girl suffer at the hands of that prick. I don't consider myself a good guy, but I'm not a monster either. I don't abuse girls, I don't rape girls, ask for consent, and I shall receive. It's basic fucking morals." Like, literally, I liked Mako so much for parts of this book. And then he would do stuff that I hated so much and I wanted to punch him in the gut. And then he would do something good, and then it would be something bad. And then I just like, God, I hate it. I'm still so angry about how much she slaughtered this character. Oh, it's so sad. And so he starts like literally stalking her. So when Mako got Allison out of the relationship, it totally divided his family, because when he presented it to them, they chose Ryan's side. They were like, oh, our baby would never do that. Like, Allison's just manipulative. And, you know, Mako, she just has you under her thumb. Like, you don't understand. Like, Ryan's innocent. He's innocent. And then Mako tried to open an investigation against Ryan and try and get a case going, even though Allison didn't want that. But it got closed by his supervisor's supervisor. Ryan has some crazy connections and some bad ones too. And so Mako gave up. He laid off. He like almost lost his family out of the situation. He was snooping around too much and people were like telling him to lay off or it wasn't going to be good. And it's just like, ugh, I don't feel good. And so ironically, as he's stalking River, like he decides like, okay, we can't do this again. I gotta help her. And so he shows up at her college and he's like stalking in the back of a parking lot, about to walk up on her and like, you know, try and tell her to get out of this relationship, when Allison calls him and asks him to look after River too, because she's also worried after the whole ice cream shop thing and River's denial and being weird about it. Allison's like getting really, really concerned. They talk about Ryan abusing the next person and what they can do to stop him. Like, charges obviously won't work, and Mako expresses how exhausted and stressed he is at saving them, and like he can't just save every girl that Ryan dates for the rest of their lives. Like, that's not feasible. And so he'll focus on River now, and after that he'll figure out what's next. Like, he'll figure out what he can do. And good on him. Like, what a freaking burden to bear. And it's just eventually, in chapter 5, Mako does catch up to River. He stops her at the university and he asks her, how much force does it take to break a bone? And she's like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'll tell you the answer. It's not about force. It's about their angle of attack. If you're smart and have a good angle, you can break someone without any effort at all. I know what you're insinuating. Ryan loves me. Why did I just sound like a child right there? Instead of smiling in triumph, he frowns. Do you truly believe that? I do. He looks disappointed. Why would he even care? I'm disappointed. I care why he cares. Slowly he nods his head as if accepting something he just realized. He's good. I'll give him that. When I frown, he clarifies. He's broken you so effortlessly, the pain hasn't even hit you yet. Cut to her and Ryan having dinner, and he tells her that if she gains any weight, he will leave her. They will break up. And then he abuses her right after the meal for dressing like a whore. She inevitably blames herself for ruining the night for being a whore because she wore too low cut of a dress and people were looking at her and it's her fault. Okay. So after she gets brutalized that night, she goes to school the next day. She's wearing sunglasses and she's in pain. She's wearing sunglasses because she doesn't want people to know how much that she's been crying. And as she's leaving, Mako just stalking the shit out of this girl, catches up to her and confronts her about what Ryan did to her. And she's covered up and she's trying not to limp. For context, he threw her on her hip and she has this giant bruise on her hip and she can't walk properly. He's following her and Mako just keeps following her. And so she ends up walking to an abandoned library. She used to go there after school and it's a safe place for her. And the librarian, Camellia, would take care of her, feed her, get her clothes. Camellia is the one who taught me about periods and bought me my first pads. She taught me about sex and the reproductive system. I'll never forget the day learning that sex is supposed to be between two people who respect each other and that it's supposed to be consensual. That was also when I realized that the men taking advantage of my body could get me pregnant. At only 13 years old, I begged her to get me on birth control. She probed and asked if I was being touched, but I just lied and said the cramping for my periods was awful, which it was. The old librarian took care of me and loved me in a way that I had never experienced before. That year, when I was only 13, she looked into adopting me. It had been the happiest I had ever been. I was sure Barbie would have loved to hand me over, but before she could, she suffered from a severe I was sure Barbie would have loved to hand me over, but before she could, she suffered from a severe stroke and passed away. That was the saddest I had ever been. It's also when I started prostituting myself for basic needs to keep me alive. So, she takes Mako to a very small hidden room and they talk about life. They're on these little benches and they're just talking about everything, and it's actually very cute. And she, has a man that's actually listening to her and like can be near her and not be a piece of crap. So that was cool and all. And so he listens to her talk about her horrible childhood, and he reassures her that she's not a whore and that the men, ard her and that she was doing what she had to survive, and that, again, he's talking about consent and supporting her. And I like Mako. But then there's like some flirty banter going on, which is kind of weird to me. Like, I don't really know how we do all that in the same breath, but okay. This will be a reoccurring thing, and it is in a lot of books of this nature where I'm like, I don't know in what universe that flirting would be on your mind after you're hearing about such horrific shit. Like, how about you let her, I don't know, cope for a little bit, or go to therapy, or just like chill out? Like, can you just keep it in your pants and be supportive? You don't have to be supportive with your, you can just be a shoulder to cry on. Not this, like, so infuriating. I got my appointment times mixed up for something, and so now I just have to sit in the parking lot and waste 45 minutes. So I'm gonna try and be productive about it, and like, instead of scrolling on the internet, I think I'm gonna try to at least film maybe some parts of review of Shallow River. Let's see. Dude, honestly, I know I have probably emphasized this a lot by now, but like, I've officially decided I'm going to read the other 2 Lucy Score books out of the Knock 'Em Out series, because I at least know it won't be this depressing, dude. Reading Too Late by Colleen Hoover and then reading Shallow River by H.D. Carlton back to back. Ouch, dude, my brain. I'm so sad. My appointment, I'm at a therapist's office. I'm waiting for my therapy appointment, not unrelated to these recordings. I mean, it is. Like, obviously, it's not like, you know what I mean? Whatever. It's a funny joke, okay? Just fucking laugh. I'm not being serious. But it is what it is. So I need to read something lighthearted. So I'm going to read the Lucy Score ones next, because I at least know it's not going to be straight up abusive. It's just going to be poor writing. No offense. You know what I mean? So we're going to do that. We're going to have a little bit more casual fun after this one. Can you tell I'm just wasting time? We're getting to a really, really bad part of the book. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, Kaylee, it's been bad the entire time. To which I would say, I know. But it gets worse. Like, it doesn't stop getting worse. You don't understand. So chapter 7, she comes home from being at the library with Mako. She ignored all of his phone calls. She totally blew him off. And so his immediate thing is to hit her for ignoring him. And she hits him back, which I love. Again, pistol whip him. Like, I love the man, give it back to him. Freaking give them a taste of their own medicine. That's not appropriate. That's not the right way to handle things. But I'll be goddamned if I don't get a little smile on my face when the abuser gets abused, So anyway, she punches him back. And he immediately dials back his anger. And she keeps saying that he has an unknown emotion on his face. An unknown emotion keeps showing up in his eyes. And I'm thinking it's like vindictiveness, right? Or like a whole manipulation thing where he's like, I'm going to get you back for that one. Like, that's what I'm imagining that means, like a calculation thing. He apologizes, and then they have relations. Cut to Amelia's pregnant. Yay for side character development, I guess. Sure. And then we cut to 3 weeks later, and Mako approaches her again. This time she's angry and regrets their conversation at the library. Ryan has been nothing but nice to her, and their relationship has been better than ever since he hit her. Because, hey, this is cycles of abuse, right? They do something extreme. They buy your love back, be it through flowers or kindness or whatever. They completely 180 you. So then now you feel crazy, and now you're the crazy person for thinking that they're abusive. You start to think, wow, it really is my fault that they treat me like shit, because look how great things can be. Look how great that they're treating me. And then something slips and the mask falls, and then they go back to being an abusive piece of shit. So we meet River in 3 weeks later in the middle of that high point, quote unquote, where Ryan is like being super nice and the perfect boyfriend to buy her affection back and to reel her back in.
So she's super pissed off at Mako because she's like, hey, you're just trying to ruin our relationship. You're trying to take away our happiness. And Mako's like, okay, and lays off. She also goes to her mom's to collect rent. Oh, shit. Okay. She goes to collect rent. Super bad vibes all around. Just immediately, I said, oh no, here he comes. He's coming through the door. You can feel the tension coming. And he approaches her, calls her a ghost, and then slams her head on the table. He says that, like, you're raised in Shallow River and you think you're too good for us now. Like, you left. You think you can just disappear. You think you can just be a ghost. And then, trigger warning, arguably the next 2 chapters, like chapter 8 and chapter 9 of this book, are like the most heinous shit I've ever read in my life. So he like beats her badly, like within an inch of her life beats her. And then he R's her in front of her mother, like in the kitchen of the trailer or in the living room of the trailer, and her mom is watching. And her mom does nothing to help her. After he's done assaulting her and battering her, he makes love to her mom in front of her on the floor in the kitchen of this trailer. She knows her first like immediate thought after being so brutally assaulted, like again, within an inch of her life assaulted, like violently horrible bad. This was a horrible chapter to read. Her first immediate thought is that her relationship is ruined and that Ryan won't take her back because another man touched her. And he might even kill her for letting another man inside of her. And so she drives away. But she has a concussion and she's like almost crashing left and right. And so eventually she's like, okay, this is like not good. Like I have to pull over. So she does. She finds like a nice neighborhood a little while away. She pulls in front of some random house where she thinks nobody will bother her. She throws it in park and she passes out. Couple hours later, she wakes up to somebody banging on the window, and it's Mako. And so Mako like pulls her out of the car and like carries her off princess style into the sunset. And we're like, what the f? Turns out she had pulled up in front of his house somehow. Not sure how that happened. She's never been there. So just like miraculous timing, I guess, divine intervention. And so then she wakes up in a hospital bed surrounded by Ryan and Mako and their parents. And they called the cops to like make a report on her being assaulted, but River plays it off and she's like, oh, I don't know who it was. Like I got jumped. I have no idea what's going on, right? Because she's trying to protect them as much as she's trying to protect herself. Like she's terrified of Billy, terrified of what Billy would do to these people. And so she just leaves it at that. I got jumped. And then she goes home to heal and Ryan leaves her on the couch and goes upstairs and she calls for help because she has to go pee. And she's yelling for him and yelling for him and yelling for him. And like, she is so battered, like she cannot move. And he ignores her. He can hear her. She can hear him stomping around upstairs and she knows he's within an earshot and he just ignores her. And so she ends up peeing on herself on the couch and has to lay in it until he finally comes down. And so like an hour later, after her screaming after him and her being defeated and just like laying in her own mess, he comes downstairs and the following gets said. He says, if you want to act like a bitch, then I'll fucking leave you to stew in your piss, he threatens. It takes everything in me to keep my mouth closed. Everything. If anyone has the right to be mad right now, it's me. You went to that fucking bitch's house and got yourself jumped, and it's your own goddamn fault. You lied to the police about who did it, and if you're going to protect people who injured you, then you can suffer. Speechless. I'm absolutely speechless. I had already blamed myself for putting myself in that situation, but I certainly didn't ask for it, and I sure as hell didn't deserve it. You also turned down a rape kit, and you know what that tells me, River? He doesn't give me time to answer. It tells me you fucked someone and you didn't want to get caught. I blanch, my eyes widening with disbelief. Is that what you believe, Ryan? You think I went out and asked for any of this? So you admit you fucked someone, he shouts, his spine snapping straight. No, I protest angrily. Then why not get a rape kit? Because I wasn't raped. How do you know? You said you don't remember. Because I'd be able to fucking know if someone hurt me down there. Fucking liar, he screams right before his hand whips out backhands me across my face. The pain doesn't register at first. I'm in too much shock. No. My boyfriend couldn't have just hit me when I'd already been beaten half to death. No, not when he loves me. But the pain does come for me, and it hurts. Everything hurts, including the goddamn muscle inside my chest that keeps me getting in these situations. Or keeps getting me in these situations. How could he treat me like this? How could he hurt me, and why can't I be able to tell my truth to my boyfriend and be comfortable and confident that he won't blame me, that he won't hit me? I had no idea Billy was even going to be there. As much as he likes to call me a ghost, he doesn't show up to that house but a few times a year. Usually Barbie goes to him. He caught us both by surprise that day. I don't believe you, he hisses. Not even a minuscule amount of remorse reflected in his darkened eyes. It goes on to say about how Ryan thinks that she fucked Mako, right? Because she woke up in front of his house. Like, Mako's the one that took her to the hospital. And so Ryan's assumption is that she had sex with Mako. And that's why she didn't want the kid. Okay. So like, that's where his mind's at. Sure. He yells some more, and then he just leaves the house. He leaves her on the soiled couch and just leaves the house, leaves her there. She crawls eventually to her phone and she calls the police station to get Mako's number. Cut to, again, one of the most heinous things I have ever heard in my life. I'm gonna, like, oh my God. This next chapter is a reflection of the last time that she had to lay in her own pee. And the last time that she had to do that just happened to be when she was 10 years old, after she was assaulted by Billy or other men. I don't know. It didn't really specify exactly, but it's just a horrendous chapter of this 10-year-old reflecting on being assaulted and how she's been being assaulted for years now. And it is so sad, and it ends that, like, he won't let her leave the room, and so he, like, locks her in the room and she's not allowed to leave, but she has to pee, right? And so she ends up going pee, and she says, the second he leaves, I release myself. It's cold in here, and maybe it'll keep me warm for the night. That is the saddest thing I think I have ever read in my entire life. For what reason? You know what I mean? Like, why? Hey, why am I being subjected to this? You know what I mean? I know we got the trigger warnings and stuff, but like, what purpose does this chapter serve? You know, what are we doing? You know, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'll just read my notes that I have on here. I said, this chapter is when I got to the point of utter what the f***, dude. The scene with Billy and her mom was horrendous. The couch thing, horrendous. But this, there is no reason in the universe that we need the POV of a 10-year-old going through what is being described. Like, this book is so unnecessarily sad. At this point in the book, I expected it to be rock bottom, right? Like, if you're going to make me read that, River's going to leave him, right? The rest of the book is her leaving Ryan and building a life after it and getting away from Shallow River. Like, that has to be the reason that we're subjected to such horribleness in the beginning of this book, is because we're at a turning point, right? We're at a turning point and things are going to get better, and then it's going to be her being happy with Mako. Has to be it, right? You sweet summer child. It is not. That is not even the worst thing that happens. I just don't get why, right? I read a lot of sad books. I read a lot of dark books. I read a lot of, like, horrific shit. But it all either serves a greater purpose or moves the story along or might be cathartic in some way for the author that then, you know, is used to, again, do something, heal, offer advice. I don't know, right? Like, there's a purpose, and there's not a purpose in this book for anything that happens. There's not a plot line to justify it. There's not a lesson learned. There's not, like, anything beneficial that the reader is getting out of reading this experience. At the very end of the book, there's like a whole, I'm a survivor. I don't want them to look at me like I'm a victim. I'm not a victim of what happened. I'm a survivor. Which, like, yeah, yeah, girl, power to you. But, like, you could have been a survivor 10 traumatic events ago, you know? Like, if that's the narrative and if that's, like, what you're trying to sell, if that's the greater good and the lesson that people are supposed to get out of this book, then f*** off for talking about a 10-year-old, you know what I mean? Like, that's unnecessary. You can get that point across without doing all this extra shit. This extra horrible shit. I just don't get it. Like, are we just going for shock value? Like, I don't know. So that's my biggest gripe. Is that not only am I just like reading horrific shit, but I'm reading horrific shit for no reason, and it doesn't get better. I don't know, dude. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. And I'm not even to 50% of the book. Like, I am not even at the 50% mark right now telling you about it. So that was chapter 9. So then we cut to chapter 10. In chapter 10, Mako comes to save her, right? She gets his phone number from the police. She's like, hey, I need help. So he shows up. He carries her out to the car, princess style again. He's very kind. He goes back inside. He gets a duffel bag of her things. Like, he is so pissed off at his brother, but he is being so kind to her and like telling her not to worry about it. And like, it's like, everything's good. You're not making a mess. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. He takes her back to his house, and, you know, she gets showered and stuff, and he's still trying to make her feel comfortable and making jokes, and he ends up telling her about a time that he like shit himself to make her feel better. And then that's like kind of working, but really not. And so then this was the cutest thing, I'm not gonna lie, and this is like kind of weird, but I loved this Mako. The Mako that is in this scene, perfect man. And then it just derails, and it pisses me off. We were so close to having a good main love interest guy, and then we go insta love stupid bullshit horny dude. Like, can we just have a brooding, mysterious, distant man that like just wants to help a woman heal? You can fuck later. Can I at least, like, maybe in like the last 70, like, I don't even want a slow burn romance, but I at least want something that is like healthy. Totally understand the dynamic of an unhealthy relationship with her boyfriend in the beginning, but can we at least demonstrate a healthy relationship with the next guy? Sorry, hopping on the next dick that quickly when you are literally recovering from like being beaten is not healthy. Like, starting a relationship when you're in this state is not healthy. Sorry, not fucking cool, dude. Anyway. Oh my god. So, oh yeah, so my favorite part, the scene that made me love Mako. Okay, so like I said, he tells the story about shitting himself, and then she's like, whatever. And he says, do you need rash cream? He asks. Did he seriously just, I can't believe I was just asked if I need rash cream by a devastatingly beautiful man nonetheless. I didn't think I could sink any lower. Blood rushes to my cheeks, and I cover my face with my hands. I'm so embarrassed. I mumble through my makeshift barrier. His fingers pick at my good hand, pulling them away one by one and shooting tiny currents through each finger. I don't like the way his skin feels on mine. It feels too good. Again, just a healthy fucking relationship, please. I pull my hand from his grip, but I don't have the lady balls to meet his eyes. Hey, he murmurs, lifting my chin until I'm forced to meet his gaze. Nothing about what happened tonight is your fault. It doesn't take a genius to know that you were left alone and you couldn't get up. That doesn't mean that it's not humiliating. He nods his head slowly. I get it. Apparently my shitty story wasn't enough. Will it help if I tell you that the smell of pee is a fetish of mine? He asks seriously. I rear back with disgust. It is not. That's repulsive. He cracks a smile and shrugs a shoulder. When he gets up and walks toward the kitchen without defending himself, I grow worried that he wasn't joking. Oh my god, is that really a fetish? Mako rummages around in the fridge with his back to me, but I can see his shoulders shaking with mirth. You're laughing at me, I deadpan. He turns back, a beautiful smile is on his face. If it means I get to be more humiliated than you, then no, I'm not joking. And then she's like, but that's not how it works. And he pulls a serious face. I think your pee smells like roses. My mouth parts in a perfect O. What the hell is wrong with this man? Another casual shoulder shrug. A lot, he answers. I hadn't even realized I voiced that question out loud. That's so cute. It's stupid, but the sentiment of him telling her like multiple stories and trying to embarrass himself to make her feel better is funny and cute, and the execution was horrible, but the intent was there, and that made me happy. That is so cute. But then he calls her baby, and I said, baby? In all caps. I said, baby? Me, dude, I have no hope anymore. We learned Mako was adopted when he was 13, so that's where Ryan's like animosity comes from, and like That's not my brother. Because he was adopted when he was 13, but his old life was very similar to River's. Like, his parents were drug addicts and his mom sold herself for money, quote unquote. Once his dad was murdered, his mom ran out and he ended up in foster care. You know, she goes to sleep in his bed and then just kind of, she's laying there and she's reflecting on everything about the day, and she realizes that Mako and Allison were right, that Ryan is a shithead and that he's a lesser version of Billy. That hurt me when she said that. A random check-in. So then she calls Amelia and she actually tells Amelia about the abuse. I don't think she tells her like the full extent, but she reveals enough and then says that she's staying with Mako and that she's safe. And then Ryan sends her disturbing photos of him like threatening to hurt himself, and so she answers one of his hundreds of calls, like calling her hundreds of times, a whole bunch of text messages and photos. And he ends up sending her a photo of him like threatening to unalive himself and having like a pew like up to his head. And so she answers the next phone call that comes in. And you guessed it, folks. He talks her into coming home. For fuck's sake, dude, can we? Oh, Jesus. So Mako's at work. And so she like leaves. Ryan didn't know where she was. Like, she just kind of disappeared. So he has no idea that she's at Mako's house. Like, she has no idea that her and Mako even talk. He has no idea that her and Mako even talk. And so she just, like, I guess gets a fucking Uber and just goes back home and doesn't tell Mako, doesn't check in with Mako, doesn't tell him where she's going or anything. This is what I mean of the whole, like, hopeful thing, right? You would hope going through that whole chapter, her realizing he's a shithead, calling him the lesser version of Billy, like, after everything she just went through with Billy, you would have hoped that that would have been the moment of like, yes, I need to leave. I need to get out. But she goes back home. Cut to chapter 11. Mako is back at the police work. He's interviewing random people that were on the DNA of that like body, like the random DNA that was placed there. And a witness comes in to make a report. And the witness says that he saw a lot. Like, he's able to identify some people. He like witnessed the murder happen, which is a huge deal. It's a huge break in the case. Mako, after talking to this witness that comes in, goes after one of the suspects that is identified. As they're staking out the like club thing where the suspect is, the suspect gets in a fight with another dude. They start brawling in the street, and the other guy shoots the suspect in the head and kills him right in front of Mako and his like cop buddy. And so that's down the drain. That didn't work out very well. After that happens, the witness is a little sketched out. So he's like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you anymore without a lawyer. Like, I'm scared. So Mako's like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'll get a lawyer for you. And so he goes and gets Ryan. So now Ryan and this witness are talking, and boy howdy, do I have a bad feeling. Chapter 12, River is back home with Ryan, but she's been cooped at home for 6 weeks. 6 entire weeks. She hasn't been allowed to leave the house except for class. And she asks Ryan if she can go and see Amelia, and he turns it into telling her that you're not allowed to see Amelia ever again. She's a horrible influence on you. She's a whore. And yeah, she's a bad person. You're not going to be friends with her. And River's like reflecting the fact that that's her only friend. Like, that's her only lifeline. And Amelia is a good person and she's never done anything wrong. And she's like literally married and pregnant with a kid. So like, she's not a whore. I don't know what he's talking about. And so she's like, I don't want to lose my relationship with Amelia. Later, Amelia calls and invites her over for dinner, and Ryan is out with friends. I guess he's been out with friends a couple of times, and he's out until 3 a.m. so he can go and fuck off and fuck around and do whatever. But she's stuck at home. So she decides to take Amelia up on the offer. And as she says yes to it, she's like reflecting of how much of a whore she is and how this is why Ryan doesn't trust her, and this is why he has to keep such a close eye on her, because she lies to him. And it's just really sad. Like, it was such a hard thing to read. And so she goes over there though, and she's, having a couple drinks with them, and it's like a little taco night thing, and they're just having a good time. And she comes home though at 10, like she's being responsible about it. She wakes up the next day. She's completely nude. She doesn't remember anything. She's super confused. Ryan comes in and stands in the door super ominously and reveals that he knows that she left the house. and he's pissed. And then she looks down and she realizes that she has been SA'd in her sleep. She looks over to the bedside table and she sees a water bottle with like some weird fizzy stuff on it. And he drugged her. He drugged her and assaulted her for punishment for sneaking out of the house to go and see her friend. Okay, so she's like realizing all of this. This is all coming to terms, and he's continuing to berate her about leaving, and then he SAs her while she's awake. Like, beats the crap out of her. Chapter 13, I guess. River is in class, and she's leaving class, and Mako shows up again, the little shadow stalkery guy that he is. And he gives her a Sharpie, and he says, hey, put a dot on the back of your hand if you need help. He's working with Ryan, since Ryan like partnered up with that witness guy. Now Ryan and Mako are working together to try and get more information and try and figure out who the ghost killer is, right? And try and figure out this whole situation. So Mako's coming over for dinner with them that night to talk about it. Like, they're going to do some work stuff. And so he's like, hey, put a little Sharpie dot on your hand. If you need something, like, I'll fucking kill him. You put a dot on your hand and I'll go ham, dude. I don't even give a shit. And she's like, okay, whatever. And kind of ignores him. So then she calls Ryan, and Ryan wants her to make meatloaf because Mako hates meatloaf, which is so petty. So she does, because she doesn't really have a choice. And then he demands that they don't talk about the case at the dinner table because he doesn't want to like hurt River's feelings. He's like, she's so sensitive. Like, we're not talking about the case. Like, we're not going to do that. And so Mako, again, being a petty little bitch, starts talking about the case. and so he says something, and then she asks a question about the ghost killer, and he responds, and she realizes that it's Billy. Like, in that moment, she realizes that the ghost killer is Billy, but she can't really say anything. As she's, talking to Mako about some other stuff regarding the case, she kind of looks over, and Ryan is pissed off, and she immediately regrets everything that just happened. After dinner, Mako leaves. Ryan breaks her finger and beats her and drugs her and SAs her when she's passed out again. Chapter 14. We'll just press on, I guess. The ghost killer, we learn, had killed Mako's father 16 years ago. Same MO, had the ghost thing. His dad was like the original ghost victim. But then it like totally died off, and it was just like a super weird one-off instance. But then last year, like a year ago, the ghost killer started up again, and he's just been killing all kinds of people, all with that same MO that had killed his father. So it's very personal to him. Like, this is a very, very personal case for him, and he's getting kind of like really, really worked up about it, that they've been working on this for a year and they're not getting any closer to closing the case. And so his partner, buddy guy, is like, hey bro, you need to chill the fuck out, or like, you need to leave this case alone. Like, you're getting way too invested. He's stalking River. Of course he is. He always is. He sees her with the new cast on her finger, and so he starts following her again, and he says, she goes to the library and he follows her. And I said, I don't like Mako anymore. And then I put a little frowny face. I don't know if you can see my my little frowny face. I don't like Mako anymore. Long story short, they end up like there's like so much flirting and banter, and then they like touch themselves in front of each other. Ugh! And then she just gets up and goes home. Hello? Okay. And it's not just that. So I also said, so he had his hand around her throat at one point in the library, like flirtily, like, I'll take what's mine type of thing. And it's so gross, and making very, very direct comments about like wanting her. And it's just a mess, and I'm really upset because he was supposed to be the good guy, and he's supposed to be helping her, and she's supposed to have left Ryan by now. And none of it's happening. Like, it's just, there, again, no progress. No progress in the storyline. It's literally just 15 chapters of the same shit happening again and again and again and again and again and again and again. With, like, no benefit, no change, no growth, no, like, nothing. Can you tell I'm worked up about it, man? Chapter 15, she goes home. Ryan comes home while she's working on homework, and he's being a douche. But he's like, you need to get pretty. Get pretty, we're going out. She's like, ugh. So she goes to get dressed, and she looks in the laundry hamper, and Ryan's t-shirt he had has some lipstick on it. She smells it. There's definitely some perfume there. And 51% of the way through the book, River turns on him. She sees this and she's like, oh, I'm done. I'm gonna plot. Like I'm plotting against him, and I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna leave. And so he takes her to dinner. Like he made her get all prettied up so they could go to dinner. And he proposes to her. She says yes, obviously, because you don't really have a choice. And she tries to say no to intercourse afterward, but he threatens the cat that she owns. Like she has a pet cat, and he like picks it up and does some really sketchy bad things, and the cat is really pissed. And so she's like, whoa, like we'll have intercourse, it's fine, like leave my cat alone. Then he throws her down the stairs and a bunch of other stuff that is like very brutal. And then he R's her, and then he ends the encounter saying that he has been spiking her drinks with antibiotics and that she should be pregnant by now. She's not, don't worry. It's not like that's the only thing that this book has going for it, is that it's not a surprise pregnancy thing. That's so like evil though. I don't even, you know? I have to go into my appointment. I wasted enough time. Look at that. How great. We're on chapter 16. There's only like 5 more chapters. Man, that was some good use of time, man. Thanks. Okay, I'll check in with you in a minute. Oh, what a cliffhanger. I'm leaving myself on a cliffhanger. Even though I've already read the book and I know what happens, it still counts. Okay, bye. Okay, to be honest, I really don't want to keep editing like a bunch of different formats. So I think I'm just going to try to knock out these last like 4 chapters as quickly as I can. Okay. Chapter 17. She's not pregnant, but this is escalating very, very quickly, because then he just like beats her for 2 weeks straight. She like camps out in the closet and is basically living in the closet so that she's like out of sight of him. It is so sad. And so she finally gets the courage to leave him, and so she calls up Allison, and she's like, hey, I'm ready to leave, I need your help. And Allison's like, bet, I'll meet you on the corner in 20 minutes. She goes to leave, he catches her. A lot happens. It's a very dramatic, like all out freaking brawl. Okay, it ends though, she like runs through the kitchen, grabs a knife, stabs him. What? Yeah, she stabs him. And then it cuts to her dragging his body to the attic and tying him up to like the posts so that he's like a little star shape basically, and just like hanging from the attic. She like puts plastic under him so that it doesn't get blood on the wood. Hello? I don't even know if this is the same fucking book anymore. She strings him up somehow. Again, she's just a little lady. They've emphasized it, so I'm not sure how she's doing this. She calls Allison again, and Allison is freaking out because it's been like a couple hours, I imagine. It's been a hot minute. And River's like, no, it's fine. Like, I'll meet you at your house. So River takes his car, goes and like hides it in the crappy part of town. Not hides it, but goes and drops it off in the crappy part of town with the keys left in it, knowing that it'll get stolen. I don't know. Ends up over at Allison's house. And Allison is like, what the hell? And River tells her that she killed him, right? River's like, Allison, it's over. Like, I killed him. And then they start making out. Allison and River, they fuck. My comment is, what in the ever-loving is happening? It's a full-blown spicy scene between these two women bonding over their abuser being murdered. It's a choice. So, cut to her being back home, and she's just straight up torturing Ryan. Like, straight up torturing Ryan, which, again, I'm a girl about justice, right? Y'all know my stance. But this felt icky. You know how much it takes for me to feel, like, not that I felt bad for the guy, but do you know how much it takes for me to feel icky about justice? Why would you do that to me? I'm, like, the #1 proponent for justice. And, like, it made me feel so revolted and gross. It was so bad. It felt so dirty and not cathartic like I hoped it would. Mid-torture session, Ryan reveals that he was SA'd by his father, like chronically SA'd by his father throughout his childhood, and it escalated once Mako moved in, because his dad couldn't do it to Mako because Mako would have reported it. So he, took it more out on Ryan, and that's why Ryan hates Mako so much. Like, that's where it stems from. Chapter 19, Allison calls Mako and she's like, hey, you need to check on River. There's some stuff going on. He breaks into their house once he can't get a hold of her, runs into her in the hallway. She's super suspicious. She reveals it, like, what's going on, and takes him upstairs to go and see Ryan. They hatch this grand plan to cover it up, which involves Ryan going out of town for work and not coming home. The insinuation is that he got too close to figuring out who the ghost killer was, and so the ghost killer took him out, and so then he, like, disappears, and that's going to be the story that they go with. Ryan, though, through, again, additional torture, now not at the hands of Mako, I think he just watches the whole time, but Ryan reveals that he knows who the ghost killer is, and he tells Mako that he's stupid and worthless, and it's been under his nose the whole time, and he's the most shitty detective ever. Chapter 20, River. My note is said, yo, I'm not gonna lie, this is, so far, as I write this, just straight up torture, which, like, dude, I thought I'd want the whole karmic justice thing, but this is a lot, and it's excessive, and it feels icky. Again, trigger warning, I'm about to talk about this gruesome torture, and this is the light version, okay? This is, like, the summarized version. Okay, ready? I'll give you a second. Skip 30 seconds if you need to, okay? Skip 30 seconds. She cuts off his appendage, and then she unalives him by shoving a broomstick that has pieces of glass taped to it up his butt. Then they start cleaning up after killing him. There's lots of bleach, lots of cleaning. They take his body to a pig farm, and Mako watches the entire time until he makes sure that all of Ryan is consumed by the pigs. What the fuck am I reading? Like, where did this book go? And why? Dark romance titling aside, this is like next level fucking insanity. Chapter 21. I said, bro, literally, I don't give a shit about this chapter. I'm so done with this book. But as predicted, Mako is the dude that she danced with in the club when she was a freshman. He has this whole moment of, if only I would have said something to you then, you never would have gone through everything. This is my fault. And it's just stupid. And there's a bunch of paparazzi outside of her house because Ryan wasn't necessarily an important dude, but he's like a young, attractive lawyer guy that got killed by a serial killer. Obviously, that's going to get attention. So a bunch of paparazzi. She and Mako go back to the library, to the secret room where he reveals that she was the guy that he danced with at the club. Again, super upset that he didn't stop her. And then he says he's in love with her. Which, like, hey, man, can we, like, not say that we're in love with someone when all you know is their trauma? Like, yeah, they're strong, and you can find that admirable, and you can be like, yeah, I am so proud of you. Like, you have survived so much. Like, you're the strongest woman ever. Like, I love that about you. But to say I'm in love with you, a little icky. And also, you literally just killed your father. You literally just killed your brother. Literally 2.5 weeks after they killed Ryan. Like, girl needs therapy. Girl needs to talk it out. Maybe let some feelings, work through some shit. Not just, like, sleeping with people. Not shaming in any way. Cope how you cope, bestie. But, like, maybe let's not call it love, like, let's call it a coping mechanism. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. So it's a very, very detailed scene of them doing this, and he makes her use her words and be specific and, say what she wants, and he checks in a lot, and he's saying all the right things and assuring her and, like, whatever, but the scene feels so cringy and hollow and awkward, and I can't put my finger on why. It's just hollow. I don't know how else to explain it. And the word milk is used, which I fucking hate. All this other stuff, fucking ew, bro. Dude, my notes are so funny. Fucking ew, bro. I liked him. I really did. And now he's the focal point romance and turned shitty, and I'm mad. Ugh. The scene ends with her saying she needs to go get rent from Barbie. Oh my god. And I said, and he's like, what the fuck, no, or at least I'll go with you. So they do. He tags along with her to go and get rent in chapter 23. They go and get rent, but the bills are clean. And so River knows that her mom is getting money from Billy because Billy's the only one that has clean money in town, I guess. Barbie asks, you got a problem accepting money? You have a problem oh my god, hello? You have a problem accepting money from the ghost killer now? Says that in front of Mako. Mako realizes that River knows who the killer is and didn't tell him. So he gets pissed and he storms out. He storms out River goes to go after him, and Barbie says, wait until he finds out that Billy is your dad too. So why would we... Okay, we're gonna press on. Don't worry, we'll come back to it, I guess. So she and Mako drive away, and Mako demands to see a picture of Billy. He's like, I need to see him. Like, I can't believe you wouldn't tell me about it, whatever. Pulls up her phone, shows him the picture. He says, fuck! Slams on the brakes, pulls over immediately, punches the steering wheel, which, like, hey man, you're a big scary man with a woman who used to get beat and still gets beat, you know, by people. Like, can we maybe fucking dial down the angry man stuff? Just like a little bit. I don't know. I'm just saying, if we're gonna be like a considerate good guy, maybe you should like temper it in. You know what I mean? Deal with the temper appropriately. Anyway, sees the picture. What's got him so worked up, you ask? Billy is the witness. Billy is the guy who's been coming to the police station and giving misleading accounts of what happened and was working with Ryan. Ryan knew that it was Billy, knew that Billy was the ghost killer the whole time. They were like buddies and had connections and stuff. I did not expect that, actually. That actually did surprise me. Chapter 24, River. It comes out that Billy's the killer. Everyone's trying to find him, but he disappeared into thin air. Like, he's just gone. Like, Mako finds out, they start trying to search for him, and he's just like absolutely gone. Until he shows up into River's house, and he's pissed that she sold him out, and abuse begins. You can imagine what kind of abuse, because it's all the kinds of abuse. Very graphic, violent forms of abuse against her, yet again. He does verify that he is her father as he is abusing her. Okay. Chapter 25. Mako is at Ryan's funeral. River doesn't come. Amelia calls Mako because she goes over to River's house and sees like it's destroyed. He comes over. There's security footage that they go and watch. They see her get abducted, and then there's a very, very long conversation about how they love River and how great she is and all this other stuff. And I said in my notes, I'm like, dude, tick-tock, the fucking clock is ticking. Like, cool. What a great 3-page side rant conversation about how cool she is and how much you guys love her. Shut the fuck up. Go find her. How do you watch a video of her get abducted and then you just like banter? There's no sense of urgency. In chapter 26, River wakes up. She's in a basement, beaten. Again, can barely like lift her head off the concrete, talking about how nice the concrete feels on her skin, on her bruises. Billy comes in to visit her. You can imagine what he does to her. And as he's like SAing her, she says, "You're my father and you're going to do this to me?" And then he punches her in the back of the head. She's down there for 3 days until Billy comes back down, this time revealing that Ryan was working with him and he used her as collateral, whatever the fuck that means. But he was willing to give her up just to have connections with the ghost killer. Just big yikes all the way around. 3 more days go by. She decides she's going to escape. This time when he visits, she asks to shower, and they start doing this horrible thing where she calls him father and he calls her daughter. I can't. It's so gross. I said I just want to bleach my eyes. Chapter 27, a week ago, right? So back in time when she first goes missing, Mako goes to Barbie to get information. She doesn't have much, but tells him about a bar that Billy frequents. Mako tells Barbie that he's going to find River and treat her like a queen, that Barbie will never see her again, but she can know that River is going to be treated well. Barbie says an ominously weird thank you and disappears down the hallway. Then it's... what's his name? Mako. It's Mako and his police partner. They're staking out this bar, waiting for Billy to come around. He finally does. Oh, like literally a week later, finally comes around. They show up. They tail him to a trailer park 5 minutes away. Lots of drama trying to figure out where he went. And then when they do, they pull up to the trailer. And as they're about to run into the house, River runs out. Directly into him, yelling, "Watch out," as he sees a gun being pointed to his head. Chapter 28, there's a slight standoff. Billy shot Mako in the chest. Mako's partner shot Billy. And then I said, I'm just going to read you what happens next. This is the climax. And this is supposed to read as a super badass moment. I don't want to take it away from you. That means it's not. Hold on, let me find my note. I'm going to pause it. I'll find the note. Sorry. I gave you life, bitch, and I will take it away, he growls. I laugh at his words, at his audacity to think that killing me is the worst possible thing he could do to me. He's already done his worst. He's already ruined me for life. I'll never be normal because of him. Killing me would be a mercy. The fuck you will, Mako intervenes before I can say anything else. In one quick movement, Mako flips the gun in the air, catching hold of it by the barrel, lifts his arm and throws the gun directly at Billy's head. His aim strikes true, but with the butt of the gun smacking Billy directly in the forehead before he can process what's happening. The moment the gun left Mako's hand, he charged toward Billy, seemingly confident that the gun would hit. Billy's head knocks back and he falls to the ground. Fuck, Billy shouts, his hand whipping to his head, and now blood spilling profusely from where he was hit. You motherfucking... He doesn't get to finish his sentence. Mako's upon him, lifting Billy up despite his own gunshot wound. Mako, be careful, you idiot! I shout, my legs finally unlocking and carrying me towards the two. Mako ignores me and drags Billy back inside the house. My legs falter. I don't want to go back inside the house. I worked so hard to come out of it. Mako's partner runs up to me. River, please go sit in the car. I'll make sure Mako's okay. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever. So fucking stupid. River goes inside. She's like, "F off, cop partner, do your thing." Cop partner guy's like, "I'm not leaving you alone with him," but he brings Mako out to the police car because he's like losing blood really, really bad. And then he comes inside and he tells River, he's like, "River, you do what you need to do, but I'm not leaving you alone with this guy." So then looking cop just watches her deal with Billy. And I'm like, damn, bro. It's kind of hot. So when River gets inside, Billy has a knife in his chest, like Mako stabbed him. So then she gets the gun out of Billy and then actually does kill him. I think she like grabs a gun and actually shoots him, whatever. She kills Billy. Yay! Billy's dead. Ryan's dead. Yay! River's finally free from these horrible men. That's awesome. Genuinely, I'm so happy. But like, it was so, whatever. Ugh. Mako had a collapsed lung, but he's stable and she visits him and then they make up. Chapter 29, the last chapter of the book. 8 weeks later, I said, bro, what the fuck? oh God. Okay, I just remembered. Sorry. We end the book. She's cutting tomatoes with a knife, and she gets triggered by using the knife, you know, considering the whole stabbing a dude thing. And so, you know, as she's cutting, she starts to think about all the men who have like put their hands on her, and that's like all she can think of. And so when Mako comes up behind her and touches her, she feels the hands of every man that has ever touched her, and she turns around with the knife and swipes it and ends right at his neck. And he like starts to like bleed, and she's like, oh my God, like I am having PTSD. I'm having like, this is traumatic. Like, you know, oh my God. So what's the solution, right? What's the solution when you have PTSD and you're triggered by something? Mako says, well, let's give you a new memory of what a knife means. He holds the blade and then puts the handle of the knife in her hoo-ha, and like gets her off with a knife handle inside of her. There's probably tomato juice on it, which is like the least of our concerns in this situation, but there's probably like tomato juice. I don't even have any words, bro. That is so weird. That is so weird. What a weird way to end a book. What a weird way to end a book. Technically, the ending is then, you know, she like, they watch the news and it's talking about her being a victim of the ghost killer and a victim of Ryan or something. And then she goes on the whole, I'm a survivor rant, and abuse really shapes people. And I when I read it, I thought it was a very beautiful thing. I thought the sentiment was great. And I thought it was like very valid commentary about what it means to be a survivor of domestic abuse and like SA and stuff. I thought that there was like some real valid commentary there. I don't want to share it with you because this shit is whack. So, sorry, you can read it. It's on Kindle Unlimited if you are really curious what the end of this book is. But it is just like it's supposed to be, I guess, a pretty bow on a package of her healing. But I feel like that is negated by the whole knife thing. Sorry, I can't read both of those and take it seriously anymore. Epilogue time, besties. We're wrapping this up. This is so good. Epilogue. 2 months later, she's been staying at Mako's every night and said, oh God, and says that she can't keep that up, that it's too early, and like, are they even dating? and that he never even asked her. And so he goes to her. He asks if she wants to be his girlfriend. She says, if she wants to stay the night. She says yes. He slides a princess cut diamond onto her, like diamond ring onto her finger. Okay. Amelia has her baby, and the baby's middle name is River, and asks her to be the godmother. Yay, so cute. 8 months later, they go to dinner with the mom, and they announce they're engaged. I guess when he asked to be his girlfriend, he was actually asking to marry him, even though they haven't really, like, dated at all. Or, like, they don't know each other really at all, other than trauma bonding over this, like, horrible situation, which doesn't really get you very far in life, but okay. I'm okay. So they go to dinner with the mom. She's like, oh, I'm so happy for you guys. Like, this is great. It's also revealed that it did come out about the dad abusing Ryan. And so she did divorce him. Like, the dad did own up to abusing Ryan. So she divorced him, which is cool. I love that. Like, don't protect abusers. Yeah, so there was truth there, though, right? Like, the whole time, I was kind of hoping that Ryan was just talking shit. You know what I mean? Like, he just, like, wanted to, like, inflict pain. But no, like, that actually happened to him, which is also horrific. And again, also, like, another layer of, like, why the did that need to happen in this book? 2 years later, she's pregnant, of course. She gifted the house to Barbie, and she hasn't seen Barbie since, but she says that if the baby is a girl, that she's going to name it, Camellia? Camilla? You know the name of the lady, the name of the librarian lady that took care of her, and it was really cute, okay? I can't say that name for some reason, bro. I don't know. Yeah, there you go. That's the book, bro. Hey, yeah. It was like 400 pages of just sad, horrific, horrible shit that just kept getting sadder and worse and, like, more traumatic somehow. There was no actual relationship building between her and Mako. It just seemed like an instant love relationship thing, which is, like, also not really appropriate, again, with the whole, like, trauma thing and, like, the trauma bonding, and, like, that's all he knows about her, so that's kind of, like, putting her in a very precarious situation. And then also, that's, like, your fucking brother's girl. Like, that's kind of weird. It's, like, a weird dynamic. Just, like, what did any of that was needed? Like, we could have cut maybe 50% of the traumatic stuff, could have ended the relationship and figured out the Billy thing, or even the Billy thing could have been a mystery until much later in the book. But she could have left Ryan at the 50% point, ended up with Mako, built their relationship, and had all of that going. And then the whole, like, third act craziness could have been Ryan coming back around working with Ghost, the ghost killer guy, right? There was so much room for the plot to have been fleshed out. And, not even fleshed out. There could have been a plot. If we would have developed a plot and then used the traumatic events to move the plot along, I would have been cool with it. But it's the fact that I read 400 pages of just trauma for nothing. I don't know how people read that and give it 4 stars or 5 stars. I don't know how anybody reads that and is like, ah, yes, H.D. Carlton. It's my favorite author. Like, you probably need to go to therapy, bro. You rating this shit 5 stars? You need a hug. You know? Like, you need a hug and, I don't know, like, a healthy relationship with Jesus. Like, what are we doing? I just don't know. I don't know why people read this. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why people would read this. I don't know why people would enjoy this. I don't know why somebody would write this. I don't know why somebody would publish it or edit it. I don't know. Like, how did we get here? That's my biggest question. That's where I'm leaving off with this review. How the fuck did we get here? I would love an explanation, guys. Did you guys like this? Am I just being a dick? Anyway, there you go. Hey, read, rant, review. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. You're the best. Let me know if there's a book that you want me to read and do a rant review on. Hopefully not one that is this bad. Hopefully next one is bad writing, not just trauma. That'd be cool, yo. That'd be super cool to not just read about a woman getting essayed the entire fucking book. I would love that so much, actually. Like I said, I think I'm going to read the other two in the Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score. I think that'll be my next longer rant reviews, maybe. Or something by Lucy Score. Or some other person. I don't know. You tell me. What do you want me to read? What do you want me to do? What do you want to hear me bitch about? I would love to know. Okay. Thanks. Like I said, I appreciate you. I'll see you guys in the next one.